We are halfway through the Wawa Cup Series chase, and it is still up in the air on who is going to win this Wawa Cup Series championship. Drew Webb is the favorite as he comes into today with a 20-point lead, but we have ourselves a boatload of wild card races coming up, including this one here today at the Fast and Wild Michigan International Speedway. This is the Culver's 400 here in Michigan, the Wawa Cup Series 2023 chase. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to the Michigan International Speedway here in Brooklyn, Michigan. I know you see Drew Webb starting on the pole for this race here today, but this is absolutely a wild card race, and if you saw the Sprint Series race on Wednesday, you will know why I am saying that. When we had our two leaders in that race wreck on lap number 2, Drew Webb has put himself in a couple of situations so far during this chase that has kept him from really pulling away in this championship, and it's not over until it's over, and that is absolutely the case at a place like this. I'm Joe alongside Chase Harris for the call of this one. You were in the booth for Pocono, where it was a battle between Drew Webb and Nicholas Samedeo the entire race. Here in Michigan, these guys, they relatively will stay close to each other throughout the event, and drafting and speed in your car goes such a long way. Do you anticipate Drew Webb dominating this race here today, or with some of these other drivers starting up front who are up there in terms of his speed, do you think someone else may possibly end up dominating here in this Culver's 400?
I definitely think that you're going to see the guys that, may not be up there in points. If they're able to get to the front, they're definitely going to be aggressive, especially around the 99 car, because it's getting closer and closer to that championship race, and the pressure is just increasing more and more. So it'll be a pack race. I think not quite like Daytona, but it will still be quite a bit of passing, quite a bit of aggressive moves. And we know this is one of the best tracks in NR, so this should be a fun one.
It absolutely will be. Of course, it is still a 50-lap race, as it always has been here at the Michigan International Speedway. The race length officially now 400 miles, of course now shortened to 25% of the length instead of 500 miles, shortened to 20%. So we've seen a lot of 50-lap races here in Michigan before, and each of them have been wild. The last time that we had what was the NOFSRL 500, at least running in the NOFSRL Chick-fil-A Cup Series back in the day, that race was won by Thomas Troxel, and he won last week at Richmond, but he comes in this race 26 points behind. He can still very well close in on Drew Webb these last 5 races, especially considering that he starts right behind him here today. But Nicholas Samedeo is still the driver right behind Drew Webb in the championship standings. Actually, wasn't in that position until Richmond. He almost got that win until Troxel took it away on the last restart. But Samedeo 20 points behind Drew Webb. Matt Tuck only 21 points behind. He starts in the 5th position here today. Nicholas Samedeo, I should mention, starts 13th. Not a bad starting position, all things considered. Travis Crampton outside pole, 23 behind. Braden Perez, 6th place starting position, 24 behind. And, of course, Thomas Troxel there, 26 behind, starting in 3rd. We got Chase Buck, 39 points behind, starting 38th in this race. A very poor qualifying effort for him. Ludovic Charette there had a tough break at Richmond and lost all his ground. He's 49 points behind, but he starts 9th here today. LJ Semedo starts 39th. Drew Webb's teammate there. He's 60 points behind. You got Seth Cole, 76 behind, starting 26th. Aliera, 88 behind, starting in the 8th position. And Dylan Matthews, 106 behind. She is starting in 16th. But as we have alluded to throughout the opening here, this is definitely a wild card race, and these guys can definitely utilize the draft to their advantage here. They do have to slow down through the corners, so they're not wide open the whole way through. But if you saw the race on Wednesday, that middle line is where you want to be. If you go too high, especially off the exit of turns 3 and 4, you're going to lose a lot of grip and fall back. But if you go too low, especially in 1 and 2, there's no grip down there, and you go about 10 miles per hour slower than the guys on your outside. So, such a fun racetrack. We're expecting about a 30-lap fuel run roughly. It'll be just past halfway, and we're excited to see how it all goes down here in the Culver's 400. And as you can see, and have seen, Drew Webb gonna lead us to the green flag here for the Culver's 400. Alongside him, number 98 there of Travis Crampton. And what a race he had at Richmond after scraping the outside wall 3/4 of the way through the race. Used pit strategy to his advantage to get a top 5 finish. The driver who won that race last week was Thomas Troxel. His 3rd win of the season, and another win here today could definitely propel him in the championship contention 4 weeks from now at Darlington. Of course, got 5 races left to go until we crown the champion, including that Southern 500. Brian Webb alongside him there. We got Matt Tuck and Braden Perez, a couple of chasers there in row 3. Tanner Parton and Aliera in row number 4. Ladovic Charette trying to rebound after last week's misfortune to the inside there of Justin Zidell. You see the rest of the starting lineup there on the left-hand side of your screen. Chase, Drew Webb starting on the pole. Will he get it done, or will it be somebody else going to victory lane here in this Culver's 400 at Michigan?
You said it perfectly earlier. This is a wild card race. It really could go to anybody. So I'm just gonna pick a driver. I'm gonna say it's gonna be the 42 of Tanner Parton. Last race commented was pretty quick at Pocono. So maybe these 2+ mile tracks are good to Tanner. We're gonna see what happens right here.
That's definitely a huge wildcard pick right there, but starting 7th could have a good opportunity of finally getting a win this season. But I don't know. Who's going to get the Drew Webb? We're going to find out here in 50 laps. Green flag in the air. We're underway in the Irish Hills of Michigan. And already getting very, very dicey there in the back of the field. You got 3 wide. Team Williams teammates there. Braden Perez and Brian Webb. Perez moving up the 3rd. Matt Tuck was trying to utilize that inside lane. Just couldn't get anything to work. You got to be careful back in here. Sebastian Kukul on there with Nicholas Samadillo. Samadillo, not a good start to this race, and especially considering that Drew Webb is leading right now. That is not what the 59 wants here. Been running so strong. I mean, 3 straight runner-up finishes here in the Wawa Cup Series. He's got some work to do if he's going to get to that point once again. But up front, it's Drew Webb in the 99. Braden Perez going to take 2nd there from Travis Crampton. And that 99, at least at the moment, a bit of a sitting duck. You definitely want to have a little bit of a draft early on. These guys will spread out at some point. But Braden Perez trying to close in here on the 99. Drew Webb, who's got a huge lead right now on lap 3.
Tell you what, these cars look really, really loose through the corners early on. You can see them, the back ends of them fishtailing, especially like right there when you hit turn 3 and turn 1. Braden Perez on that 23, man, he is really closing on Drew Webb. He had a good start in that 23. He's going to have the draft. He might have a chance to pass the 99 here in the next few laps.
We'll have to see if Perez can, in fact, close in on Drew Webb here. Top 3 have kind of single file out. Even Brian Webb right there. Aliera there battling with Thomas Troxel. What happened to Matt Tuck in the 54? Still stuck on that inside lane. Has not been able to get up to the middle and has fallen significantly there. It was 13th last time around and trying to find a hole in that middle lane, but he continues to try to work the inside, and there's just nothing there. Nothing at all. Trey right there, also behind the 54, and there's just simply no grip, and he's been losing a ton of ground to the field because of that. Nicholas Samadillo deep in the field right here, currently running 20th, and Matt Tuck falling all the way back to 19th. It's still a long race, but not at all the positions those drivers want to be in, especially this early on. He's going to have to see, though, if they can close in. And we got a cycle of pit stops as well. That's also going to shake things up. We could end up with a couple of cautions. You just never know what you're going to expect here at Michigan. Travis Crampton, though, trying here on Braden Perez. 23 trying to stay within the draft for this 99 of Drew Webb right here. But this is a perfect scenario for Drew Webb. Currently dominating this race here at Michigan, but Perez and Crampton, a couple of guys who are right on him in the championship standings, trying to close in here on lap number 6.
I think Webb, he's definitely got the corners nailed, but man, Perez, that 23 is closing. He's running a little bit of a higher lane than Webb is. At least I've noticed in turns 3 and 4. It also had a little bit of an air approach from Crampton, but right now Perez, I think, is faster than Webb, but he's almost getting stuck in that bubble, a dirty air bubble that's at every big mile and a half and over track, as you see an air bubble, and Braden Perez is going to have to find a way to figure that out, because it's not going to be easy to pass him on the outside.
First, if he can get that 99 a little bit anxious, maybe cause the 99 to make a mistake, we could see Perez possibly take advantage of that, and that's something we saw a lot of in the Sprint Series race. And I think the big difference that these drivers have, the driver ratings. These drivers are better because they have the driver ratings, unlike the drivers in the Wawa Sprint Series. So a lot of drivers make mistakes there in that Sprint Series race. Not really seeing that out of the top contenders here today. Troxel falling back there in the 62 machine. Ludovic Charette, though, with another good ride. Ludovic got in the Zidell right there in the middle of the corner. Yikes, that was a tight one right there between the 61 and the 51. Fisher G's in the middle here. He's in the top 10. You got Blaine Keys rounding out the top 10. Unlike last week's race at Richmond, we're seeing a lot of non-chasers run up front here. Nicholas Amadio trying to close in. He's now up to 16th, but Matt Tuck still mired there in the 20th position, right behind Benny Moore. Definitely interesting to see certain drivers struggle here today. But one driver who has not struggled is Drew Webb in this 99, who continues to lead. He's led every lap so far here in this Culver's 400, with Braden Perez trying to close in this 23 machine.
Pretty crazy how we're already on lap 9. These guys are absolutely ripping it around this racetrack. This is the fastest racetrack on the circuit in terms of top speed. But man, yeah, these guys are absolutely flying around here. And again, Braden Perez is just still trying to find a way to get around the 99. It's going to be tough, get to a point where you get stuck in that bubble that I was mentioning. And yeah, Perez is definitely stuck there right now, and Drew Webb is doing a great job of just kind of maintaining his lane, not letting the 23 get to the inside or outside. And yeah, it's just it's going to be a difficult pass, but at some point, you got to start trying different lanes.
And the good thing about this racetrack, there are multiple lanes, and as the tires wear out, it could get a little interesting. Drew Webb here in the 99, though, hanging on, and like you said, you mentioned earlier, he's just nailing every single corner right here. That's what all these top drivers are doing here, side by side. Troxel and Aliera right here. That's for the 5th position, as they're behind Brian Webb right there. Great run here for Team Williams. Both of their drivers in the top 4 right now. And Braden Perez going to make the mistake of overshooting the corner. And that right there is something that we're going to see throughout the day, especially as the tires wear out. And Blaine Keys has gone kaboom. 55 with an issue. And we'll have to see, will he get back around? Also a piston issue on Joey Hightower. Hightower out of the race in the 24 now. Thankfully, all these drivers will get around the 55, and it does appear that Blaine Keys should get back around to the pit lane. That's another thing about this racetrack. These guys, like you said, some of the highest speeds we have on the circuit come here at the Michigan International Speedway. Well, that really revs those engine ups, revs the engines up. What am I saying there? And the RPMs absolutely very intense here, and sometimes these cars cannot handle it. So mechanical issues and reliability issues could become a factor as this race goes along. Already lap 12, and we've had 2 mechanical issues in this race.
Yeah, it's not surprising to see that. This is one of the biggest tracks when it comes to mechanical failures. As you said, it's mostly due to the fact that the RPMs are so high here. These guys are going well over 200 in the corners, and there's not much lifting at this track either. You can see Braden Perez still continues to close, but again, there's just that pocket of air. But all in all, 2 mechanical failures, just over 10 laps in. That's definitely a concern for the rest of the field. They gotta maintain their equipment at this track just like they do at any other track.
Absolutely. So Blaine Keys now going to also be out of the race. Gearbox issue on the 55, and Jim Vincent kind of fell off the pace there as well in the 07, who won the Sprint Series race on Wednesday. But, there's one driver who's not having a good run at all. That's Chase Buck, still outside the top 30, right there in 32nd. Not at all a good race for Chase here. And then you got LJ Semedo, Drew Webb's teammate, struggling as well. The other Titan Fury car doing an excellent job, but LJ Semedo here, 27th right now on lap 14. go further up through the field. It looks like Matt Tuck has moved up a little bit right there. He's now up to the 16th position. Seth Cole trying to follow suit. He's 17th. He was 17th that last lap around at least. Going to be in different positions this time around. Matt Tuck up to 15th there, and Seth Cole in 17th. Nicholas Samadio now up to the 12th position. That 59 is quick. Definitely found his groove. Good run here for Dylan Matthews. She is 9th now. And Samadio is actually 11th that time around. Ladovic Charette there in the 8th position. Thomas Troxel is 6th. Great run for Aliera, who hasn't recorded the top 5 since winning the Daytona 500. Interestingly enough, currently running in the 5th position. And then you got Travis Crampton in 3rd, Braden Perez in 2nd, and Drew Webb, who has led every single lap so far, leading this field. But Perez doing all he can to try to close in on this 99, and that 23 of Braden Perez absolutely up to speed to this 99. This is going to come down the pit strategy, and whether or not we get a caution, that could definitely make things interesting, and whether or not we get a mechanical issue. Like I said, we've already seen 2 cars have issues today, and we're only on lap 16 here in this Culver's 400.
My concern right now with Braden Perez is if he's cooking the tires on that car. You know, he's sitting there not only running the tire tracks, but you see in turn 1, he's been driving it in the corner much deeper than Drew Webb has, and he's been getting out of the group, which is not good for tires. So Drew Webb gets out of the group a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
just
Braden
a little
Perez,
bit.
yeah, you don't want to cook the tires. Go head out.
We'll have to see what Perez can do as this run goes along, because he's been able to keep with this 99, and one driver will make a mistake one lap, and the other will make the mistake. But definitely a much different Michigan race, and a lot of that could be attributed to the fact that it is cloudy, and there's a little bit more grip on this track than there is if it is sunny. As Aliera's moved up to 4th. Great run for her. She's up to the 4th position there ahead of Brian Webb. You got Troxel and Ladovic Charette right here, battling for 6th. They've all been on each other pretty much this entire race, and Justin Zeidel there in 8th, and Nicholas Samadio about to enter the top 10. And he's only going to be about 4.5 seconds off, so he's still got a chance at possibly finishing ahead of Drew Webb and closing in. He's 20 points behind coming into this race. And we'll have to see if he's going to have anything for our championship leader as this race goes along. Matt Tuck trying to get a position here on Roberto Crown Jr. And that'll be for the 14th position. Matt Tuck fell back initially after starting in the 5th position, but trying to rebound here as this run goes along. And we're closing in on that cycle of pit stops beginning as well. I know we're on lap 19. I said about a 30-lap fuel run. Be past halfway when these guys come down. And with the speeds these guys are racing, going to be interesting to see how it ends up affecting everything in terms of the order on the racetrack. Brian Webb still in the battle here with Aliera, and this is a great battle right here with Troxel in the middle of all this, Ladovic Charette as well. They're all on each other here for the 4th position.
Yeah, this is not quite the start I was expecting. I definitely wasn't expecting the top 2 to break away the way they have, and then you see kind of like some smaller packs here as you see this battle for 4th. It's fairly interesting to watch, and it almost reminds me of an old school restrictor plate race where you'd have these little packs that would break away. And so the outside line definitely looks faster than the inside line, and right now you can see Liera definitely pretty quick. Travis Crampton's actually right in front of these ones, so there's definitely a good chance of them getting a run here on him and potentially getting 3rd. And after that, it's going to be a little tough to catch 23 and the 99, but you know, if you keep working with the draft, you might have a chance at it.
We'll have to see if these guys can do so. And Braden Perez, this is the closest he's been all race right here. 1/4 of a second on Drew Webb right now. But I think that dirty air is really coming into effect. With Braden Perez, this team can absolutely find a way to jump Drew Webb on the pit lane. And if Drew Webb can win this, or should I say if Braden Perez could win this race, excuse me, that would be huge for that 23 team, because they would jump about 5 points in that 99 and be within 20 going into Indianapolis next week, which I would say it's probably the least wildcard type race, especially considering, you know, Drew Webb won at Pocono. Very similar racetrack right there. You know, I anticipated these guys being a little bit closer, but you know what? Those ratings are absolutely coming into effect here in Michigan. And Drew Webb absolutely lights out on the speedways this year, especially during the chase. Won Chicagoland and Atlanta. I think Atlanta's another comparable track here to Michigan where he kind of just wide open, almost wide open the whole way around. And it has played in the Drew Webb's favor very well. He may get this extra bonus point as well because he's led every lap so far here in Michigan but it's still far from over in this Culver's 400. As Ludovic Charette and Thomas Troxel now battle for 4th. They've gotten around Aliera back here. Great runs for these guys, and I know all these guys are hoping for an issue out of Drew Webb. But look at this. Nicholas Samadillo has been able to keep pace with Drew Webb. I know he's in 10th right now, but he's actually been closing in on the race leaders as he's been passing this field. This 59 is also lights out. Appalachian Motorsports, they bring some great cars to these speedways, and Samadillo, you know he's got a chip on his shoulder after the last 3 weeks finishing runner-up 3 consecutive races in a row. He wants to finally go to victory lane this season. And who knows, if things play out a certain way, he could find himself up there and he could find a way around Drew Webb. But Braden Perez might find a way around Drew Webb here. This 23 has just been hanging on him the entirety of this race.
Yeah, Braden Perez is ripping it. I think he's faster through the corners right now, and Drew Webb's going to go a little higher. Give a chance for Braden Perez. Here he comes.
Will we see the slide up? Not quite. But Perez still right there on this 99. We're going to see some of these guys come down the pit lane here shortly, and when you come down could very well determine who gets the race victory, or whether or not you get the race victory. But Braden Perez wants this race victory. Team Williams, they've won twice with Perez this season at Phoenix and New Hampshire. Of course, 2 flat mile-long tracks, I should say, and both legal short tracks in terms of the chassis type. This a speedway here. As I thought I saw the caution lights on, but my eyes are playing tricks on me. We're going to get halfway right here with Drew Webb getting the extra bonus point towards the championship for leading every lap so far in this race. And I don't know. Crampton's going to start the cycle now. He knows he can make it, and he's going to try to jump these guys ahead of him by coming down early.
This is a big strategy. This is a short pit right here. I mean, he literally hit this halfway, so Crampton, I mean, it could work out, but, you know, this is definitely a risky play as well, because I think these tires are going to continue to wear more and more.
And once you get to the end of the run, Crampton's going to have the most worn tires. Here we go. This could get dicey. These guys battling the way they are, trying to come down the pit lane. And Nicholas Samadillo going to pass Seidel and come down right here. And I would imagine our 2 race leaders coming down as well. So not a 30-lap fuel run right at halfway here in Michigan. But Drew Webb, you know, these guys should be good to go because it is past halfway, and at the line it's 24 laps to go. So it's not going to be a complete cycle or flag-to-flag, wire-to-wire race for Drew Webb, as Ludovic Charette going to stay out and lead a lap right there in the 61. But Drew Webb here, I'd imagine, is going to be a 4-tire stop for all these guys. Don't really have a good angle here on the pit lane, but it is, in fact, 4 tires there for Drew Webb. Imagine it'll be 4 tires for all of these drivers. Braden Perez coming out right there. There's Drew Webb also coming out in the 99. Where's Crampton? Where's that 98 going to fall in line here? He's going to be up to speed right here. But he's still a little ways behind right there in that 98 machine. And a good stop out of everybody, and Drew Webb pulling away there from Perez. And that 98 of Travis Crampton's actually going to lose a position to Thomas Troxel with that strategy. But everyone kind of on the same cycle right there. And it worked out to their favor. So Drew Webb going to get back up to speed here. And only unless something drastic happens, it's going to be between Drew Webb and Braden Perez for this Culver's 400 race victory. We'll see if any of these guys jump the field here. Ludovic Charette in the 61, no, not going to happen.
Man, I'll tell you what, Thomas Troxel, that 62 car, man, they had a heck of a stop. I mean, they were, I think, running like 6th or 7th, and they now took 3rd, but Crampton is right there. Crampton's going to have warmer tires right now. Troxel may go get him back, but that was a good pit stop for the 62 team.
No doubt about it. They had a good stop, but nowhere near closing in on Perez or Drew Webb. And this 99 just lights out here in Michigan. Absolutely lights out here in this Culver's 400. He's got 7/10 on Braden Perez there. They're side by side, 5 seconds behind Drew Webb here. And Travis Crampton going to take 3rd away there from Thomas Troxel. They're going to need a caution. All these guys are going to need a caution if they're going to find a way up to the 2 race leaders in this race. We'll have to see if we get a caution. These guys, they've been a little edgy here today. We saw a wreck in the Sprint Series race on Wednesday. But they have kept it clean. No wrecks here today at Michigan. We've had a couple of mechanical issues. And who knows, as this race goes along, we could see one. But still only the two drivers, Blaine Keys and Joey Hightower. But I will say, this race isn't over for Braden Perez yet. This 23 is closing in, and Drew Webb really washed it up right there. And we could have ourselves up front here. A battle for the race lead in just a couple of laps.
Yeah, Perez is closing quick. It was 3/10 that last lap. So Braden Perez in the 23 is absolutely flying right now. And Drew Webb's car looks really, really tight. That car's struggling to stay in the groove. This gives Braden Perez multiple chances.
It absolutely does. We'll have to see what it was. And he closed in a 10th that lap right there. Drew Webb has to avoid making mistakes and getting loose up in the corners. And it's such a narrow line of grip around this racetrack. And we saw that in the Sprint Series race on Wednesday. Those guys were washing it up all over the place then. I think these drivers definitely a little more skilled to find that line, which is why we've seen the race we have here today. But Braden Perez still in the wake of this 99, trying to close in. Crampton there in third, Troxel is fourth, Dylan Matthews, great run for in fifth. Ludovic Charette, Brian Webb, Sam Medeo going to try to get around Justin Zaidel here for the 8th position. But, like I mentioned, all these drivers will need a caution in order to close in on these top two right here. And we'll have to see if, in fact, we ever get one here today, here at Michigan.
Well, I'm hoping we don't, because last time I was commentating the race, we got a caution and it ruined a great finish. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. This, again, looks like it could be a great finish.
Yeah,
so.
And you know what? This race has played out a lot like that Pocono race. We've had two drivers essentially 1-2 the entire way through. Been the same two drivers up front the whole race.
Yeah.
Let's hope we don't get a caution on lap 49. Braden Perez is hoping that he gets the win, though. Drew Webb has led every lap but one so far, and that was a technicality on the cycle of pit stops right there. But Braden Perez has done an excellent job keeping right with this 99 this entire race. But it's just so hard finding the line to be able to get around this 99. And it's going to be hard to pass who is arguably the best driver here in the Wawa Cup Series, looking for his 6th win of the season.
Braden Perez, wow, he drove it off in that corner and made it stick, too. That was a great corner for the 23 car. And, yeah, these top two, the third place isn't even catching them. I mean, that's just, it's insane what these top two are doing. They have these cars set up perfectly for this racetrack. And now it's a question of, you know, if there's a caution, you know, how late does it come? And if there isn't one, then when does he make his move?
Well, right now, looks like that battle is kind of calmed down at this point. Dylan Matthews moving up for 5th there on Ludovic Charette. And Zaidel able to pull away there from Nicholas Samedeo. Here comes Matt Tuck looking on Brad Stover. Brad Stover in the top 10. Good run for him here today. Aliera fell back after her pit stop there. Ooh, someone's off pace. Someone's on the apron. Or I thought someone was on the apron. It may have been Chase Buck who was just running a really low line right there. And that could have been, you know, if you get the correct issue, you could end up with someone stopping on the racetrack. You know, we may not have to have a wreck in order for us to get a caution, and that's what a lot of these guys are thinking about right now. But they are doing a great job keeping it clean. But there's a gaggle of cars right back in here. And they have to be careful because I think some of these guys are faster than others, especially LJ Semedo, Chase Buck. They started deep in the field. They're now up in the, let's see, where are they? 19th. And, wow, that was tight there with Master and Semedo. 19th and 22nd. Matt Tuck to the inside of Brad Stover. Trying to get that inside lane to work for 10th. Aliera and Logan Williams. These guys, they are washing it up back here. It's definitely dicey, and I'm surprised that we have not had any contact in this race yet, considering the race that we had on Wednesday. These guys have raced such a clean race here in Michigan, and we have ourselves only 14 laps to go on this Culver's 400. And the field did not want to see this one. Drew Webb trying to pull away again. Now, here's the thing. He's not going to pull away by too much. He could still lose it in the next race if he wrecks out. Maybe roughly about a 30 or so point lead on the field going into the Brickyard 400 next week if things stay the way they are. We have seen so many issues happen to this team. Titan Fury Racing, of course, New Hampshire and Richmond, both short tracks, essentially. They've been lights out on the speedway so far during the chase. 3 wins during the chase for this team, and they're now starting to pull away here from Braden Perez. Troxel trying to get it here on Travis Crampton. That's for 3rd. Ladovic Charette is 5th. Dylan Matthews, Brian Webb, Sam Medeo now back around Zidell. That's for 8th. And then Brad Stover and Matt Tuck there battling for the 10th position.
Yep, and you can see it's almost like we're seeing this 2-car pack here where you can see way up the track goes the 5-car rally area. And, didn't quite hit the wall. LJ Semedo actually caught the wall a few laps ago in that wild gaggle, but it wasn't too hard. It was just a light scrape. But that shows that these tires are wearing. It's getting tougher to drive these cars. You don't want to get loose from the person below you and take them out, because then that creates hurt feelings, and then you get a target on your back. So.
Well, of course, this is a video game, and these guys do forget it. But,
way low.
Yeah, we've seen some low lines here, especially in the IndyCar race. We saw a lot of low lines there on that inside lane. A couple of Sprint Series drivers in the back right there. And my heart skipped a beat right there because it jumped right to Perez. I'm like, where did Drew Webb go? But no, he's still up front there and pulling away from Braden Perez at the moment. So it's going to be 10 laps to go next time by. And everything has gone right for Drew Webb here today at Michigan. Just such a hard driver to get around when he starts on the pole position. That's what happened at Pocono, and Sam Medeo kept up with him, passed him a few times, just kind of got left out because of the caution at the end. This time around, looking pretty solid for Drew Webb. Nicholas Sam Medeo on Brian Webb. That is for 7th. Sam Medeo's been trying to work his way through this field. He was all the way down in 20th at one point in this race. And he's now 7.4 seconds behind, but like I said, we're at the point where a lot of these drivers would need a caution in order to catch up to the top 2, and I don't see that happening at this point. These guys so far from each other, it's going to take a mechanical issue out of somebody in order for something like that to happen, and that's why I'm kind of scrolling through, because we've seen 2 of them already, and it's the nature of this racetrack. We could see another one, but I'm just trying to give the rest of the field a sliver of hope right here. Drew Webb does not want a caution. He wants this race to play on out, and he wants to get his 6th win of the season, and we'll have to see if he can, in fact, hold on to it. Perez may have just used up his stuff. This 23 sliding up a little bit more right here. He tried it, but just not enough in this 23 to really hound down the 99 here for this race lead.
Yeah, I don't know. Braden Perez at 23, I think he burned up his stuff trying to catch that 99. I mean, you know, you never know. I always say it, but it's never over until it's over. And so you still got quite a few laps in. Around Michigan, this is a big track, so there's, you know, what is it, 8 to go now? So, I mean, you got time, but if you're Braden Perez, you better go on the loud pedal now, because Drew Webb is continuing to pull away.
Absolutely. Of course, this isn't New Hampshire. I don't think we're going to see a fuel mileage concern in this race. Everyone did come well past halfway. But, you know, don't forget New Hampshire. We thought Drew Webb was going to pull away with that one, and look at what happened there. Braden Perez got that race victory, and Braden Perez now running 2nd, hoping something like that happens. But, I don't know, the closer we get to the checkered flag, the less it seems like something like that will occur here. These guys have done an excellent job, though, keeping it clean today. We had a wreck fest, essentially, at Richmond last week. And a relatively clean race. Did not quite expect what we have seen here today at Michigan. But Drew Webb's all right with it, as he has led nearly every lap so far and is looking to dominate this one here in the Culver's 400 at Michigan.
Well, I spoke it into existence. Braden Perez closed about a 10th that last lap. Let's see if he closes in this lap at all. He does by almost another 10th, so I don't know if it's going to be good enough to get there, but he might have a shot at getting pretty close.
Perez has to make sure he holds that line each and every lap if he's going to have any shot at closing back in here. And we'll just have to see if Drew Webb ends up making a mistake through the corner and slides up. And Perez is trying to find that grip there in that middle line. Just like you said, it's just a bubble here at Michigan, and that's what we've seen today. And like I said, I think a big reason why we've had the race that we've had here today is because it's cloudy and the track is a little bit cooler, and that usually produces a lot more grip, and when you have a lot more grip, these guys tend to make a little bit fewer mistakes. So when we saw on Wednesday in the Sprint Series race, it was a warm, sunny racetrack. Those guys were sliding all over the place. Here today, not the case, and the IndyCar race is a good example of that. Those guys have a lot of grip. And we saw how many passes we ended up getting in that one. It was not too many for those guys. And heck, I mean, we had more passes in the IndyCar race for the lead than we have here today. However, it's been a 10th a lap here for Perez. He's saying there's a chance. He is trying to reel him back in. Maybe as these tires wear out, the 23 has a little bit for this 99. We're going to have to wait and see. It's not over yet. And Perez would absolutely have a great swing going into Indianapolis if he could win this race ahead of Drew Webb. We'll have to see if he can close in. It's 3 laps to go next time by for Drew Webb and Titan Fury Racing here in the Culver's 400. Braden Perez that time around. And he lost just a touch right there. And he hit that bubble, I think. Oh, but Drew Webb a little wide right here.
Drew Webb,
maybe just a little bit.
Man, it's gonna come down to whose tires are better right now, because if you slide up out of that groove just a little bit, that gives the 23 a chance. But if 23 slides up out of the groove, that's the end of his race. He's not winning. So you gotta run a perfect line. Both these drivers do.
Absolutely. Lap traffic will not come into play. It's a clean racetrack ahead of these guys with 2 laps to go here in the Culver's 400 in Michigan. You know, a race like this, I think, kind of humbles us. You know, we've had so many solid and fun and entertaining races this season. To have a race like this, you know, not each race is going to be, you know, an absolute banger. And, you know, I think the last 4 races of the season are going to be excellent. Wasn't the case here today in terms of the race entertainment, but Drew Webb's all right with that. He's going to take the white flag here in the Culver's 400 in Michigan. 1 lap to go for our points leader, trying to extend this championship lead, and this team has just been lights out all year long, and especially during this championship run, and looking for his 6th win of the season. It's looking pretty good for Drew Webb and Igor Barreto. Oh no! What happened to him? What on earth happened? He blew a tire! What is going on? Braden Perez comes around, takes the race lead, and just like New Hampshire, Braden Perez is going to get his 3rd win of the season in the Wawa Cup Series. What the heck was that?
Oh my God!
What? What on earth? What on earth?
All day, we have no issues when it comes to tires. We have no wrecks. In the last lap, the leader.
He blew a freaking tire down the straightaway on the last lap of the race. I swear we are not making this up, folks.
I tell you what,
in the world?
It almost took out the 23 car.
He took out the 98. Travis Crampton also got caught up in that one.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to have a new points leader as well because of that. I cannot believe it. I cannot. 37th. Braden Perez is going to take the points lead going into Indianapolis. What in the world?
75.
That's even more crazy than what happened at New Hampshire. That is... I saw a video. Who was it? Who made it? I forget who it was. Who was it? One of the NASCAR YouTubers made a video on, you know, strange things and the probability of the race leader blowing a tire on the last lap, and it had happened like maybe twice. You know, I remember, go back to the 2021 Pocono Saturday race in the Cup Series. Kyle Larson was leading, came into turn 3, and we all know what happened there. I just watched that video a couple days ago, and I thought, wow, you know, that never happens, you know, that's just a rare thing. It happened here, in this race, to Drew Webb in the 99, who was I mean, this is the 2nd time it has happened. This is absolutely unreal. What just happened? Absolutely unreal. And once again, Braden Perez is the beneficiary. He's going to get his 3rd win of the season, and he is going to take the championship lead going into Indianapolis.
Drew Webb's
Wow.
gonna be going on his Tony Stewart Goodyear rant here in a minute.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
unbelievable.
Well, what were you saying, Chase? It ain't over until it's over? We
Yep.
were ready to write it home for Drew Webb. He blew a freaking tire. We don't see it like that. Hardly at all. And just out of the blue, he blows a tire and spins into the corner, takes out Travis Crampton in the process, and opens this entire championship battle completely wide open here in the Wawa Cup Series. Chase, I'm stunned. I am absolutely flabbergasted at what we just saw. Can you put to words what on earth we just saw here in Michigan?
Tell you what, it was exactly the same as Kyle Larson's incident at Pocono a few years ago because he blew the tire going to 3. Only difference was it looked like this was a rear tire. But I kept saying that, when you get to the end of these runs, the tires really wear it. There's a chance of this, but I thought Braden Perez would be the one that have more of a chance of that with how he was driving off in the corners. I don't know if maybe Webb hit something on the track. I don't know what happened, but I mean, I saw the car just turn right down the straightaway. I was like, are my eyes deceiving me here? But sure enough, he spun out and Perez just narrowly missed it. I mean, that's probably the most insane finish I've seen as a commentator.
This year, the whole point of doing the ratings was so that we would have drivers who really would be running up front in the chase and at the end, near the end of the season. And Drew Webb has absolutely done that. But you cannot adjust ratings for something like that happening. That is such a freak thing. And it happened to the championship leader who has already won, and honestly, could have won all 6 of these chase races. I mean, last week at Richmond, they got lucky after they had the issue on the pit lane. They were still in the race. They barely avoided getting a lap down, and they moved up to 7th, and that was a big deal for that team. And I mean, I just cannot believe it. You cannot make that stuff up in this game. You cannot. That is impossible. If you know this game enough, you know that orchestrating something like that in an offline race is impossible. And, I mean, I cannot believe what we just saw right there. I've never, in my years of doing NR2003 offline races, had never seen a driver dominate a race like that and just blow a tire out of the blue. I've seen them blow engines before, but not a tire. That is just absolutely insane. And we've yet to replay it. Let's go ahead and see what happened here, because it was such a massive moment, such a massive swing in this championship, and now going into these last 4 races of the Wawa Cup Series, it is anybody's game here for this title. And especially considering the races we have coming up, oh baby, it is going to be good. But let's see what happened to Drew Webb on the last lap of the race to take him out and have him fall all the way back to 37th in this Culver's 400. Well, this is it here. Drew Webb going down the backstretch right there. I noticed that he kind of swerved over to the left down the backstretch, and that was when he realized that the tire went down. It was a left rear, and trying to go into the corner, he just couldn't turn it into the wall. I mean, I just can't believe what I just saw. That is just unreal. Absolutely unreal. And just to think, these guys have hit everything perfectly on every cylinder this season to get themselves to this point. And if New Hampshire did not happen, and if Michigan did not happen, Drew Webb would probably have a 70-point lead going into Indianapolis. But instead, he's out of the points lead. He's out of this race. Of course, it was the last lap. And we have ourselves, and will have ourselves, a new points leader, and that will be Braden Perez, considering that he won this race. We come through here. Thomas Trostle was able to avoid the 99. I think this is Travis. No, where is Travis at? Where did the 98 go? Because Crampton apparently got caught up in this. It may have already had happened. Oh, he may have had an issue earlier on, and we did not pick up on it. I don't think anyone actually ran in to Drew Webb. Nope, no one did. He got back around. Something else happened to Travis Crampton, which took him out of the race as well. That's also huge, because Crampton could have absolutely taken advantage of that. And now, he's also going to be behind quite a bit in this title. But look at it right here. Across the line for the race win, Braden Perez gets it here at Michigan. And the Crampton issue you will see in the corner of your screen. Wow. Final thoughts, Chasen. Who's got it now? Who's going to win this title now that we've seen what we've seen? We got Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, Daytona, and Darlington. Who's got it made here in the Wawa Cup Series?
Who knows? Who knows? That literally was like, that just blew this championship door completely wide open. I mean, I want to say Drew Webb, but if I say Drew Webb, I'm afraid something else is going to happen to him.
After what has happened to him, wow.
I'm just going to say that it's anyone's game, and we'll see what happens in the next 4.
We will. We will. And you said it best. Yogi Berra said it best. It ain't over until it's over. And my goodness, did we see that coming to fruition here today. Braden Perez wins the Culver's 400 in Michigan. 3rd win of the season, and once again, just having one handed to him on a silver platter. And I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. For that to happen twice, too, because, New Hampshire happened. He was going to win and ran out of fuel. For that to happen again, to that proportion, is just unreal. I mean, it has been, win or bust for that team, and that has hurt them. And I mean, you can't predict things like that. I don't think you can even prepare for things like that. You could have prepared for the fuel use, but not for this. And just like that, we got ourselves a wide-open championship race in the Wawa Cup Series with 4 races left to go. I tell you what, I was ready. I was ready to call Drew Webb the winner of this race, and it was going to be what it was, and then that happened on the last lap. Wow. That's all I got to say. Here are the points for the Wawa Cup Series. After 26 races, only 4 races left to go. Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, Daytona, and Darlington. And who knows what's going to happen in those 4 races. And Drew Webb, he needed to have a buffer going into Watkins Glen because he did not run well the last road course. And Daytona is a wild card, and now it really is anybody's game. And we're going to have ourselves one heck of a title fight here for the Wawa Cup Series. Thank you guys so much for watching. A huge thanks to Chase Harris for joining me here in the booth. And we will see you guys next Saturday for the JBL Brickyard 400, a crown jewel event, a true crown jewel event here in the Wawa Cup Series next week from the greatest racetrack in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Congratulations to Braden Perez for getting it done here in the Culver's 400. And we will see you guys next week from the Brickyard. I will see you guys later.